I think it needs top to bottom fixing. Our teachers are great. Our teachers are underpaid. I mean, let's just address it point blank. I mean, for crying out loud, how can you go to school for 4 years and come out of school and get a job for $32,000? And how does it make any sense? You know, how does it make any sense that 600 classrooms don't even have a teacher in them in West Virginia because we can't hire them? We just can't hire them. They won't take the jobs. You know, now, if you meet and you listen to the educators, they're not. They want to teach, but they're not happy campers. You know, they got too many problems. So you've got to take it on, and you've got to say, we're going. It is so important. It is the most important thing. We got to just shove it right to the centerpiece, and we got to fund it. We got to find a way to fund it right off the get-go, and then the next thing we got to do is we've got to go through and we got to just look at it this way. You see, I look at education as an economic opportunity. You know, everybody else looks at education as almost a necessary evil. Like, how in the world are you going to fund it? How the teachers want a 2% raise, PEIA. What is it going to be next? Well, I look at it as just this. For good or bad, West Virginia, outside of West Virginia, we have somewhat of a negative image that we've got to overcome. If you made this place an education mecca, you can't imagine how much employment it would drive to us, because everybody wants their kids to be educated in the best, the safest, the most loving, the best facilities and everything else. We absolutely could use education as that economic driver and bring people to us.
How do we get there? With again, without the money. We're
Well, everybody says the same thing.
I know.
Everybody throws their hands up and says, "Oh, you can't get there, can't get there, can't get there. The sky's falling and everything else." But the sky's not falling. The sky's not falling. It's just that no one really sits and thinks the way I think. I mean, you just haven't ever had that before. I am a different animal, and I do think on a lot bigger scale. And I am a marketer in chief, and I know a lot of people that I can present West Virginia to in a light that they'll listen. Now, look, you can't get there unless you substantially grow revenue. But that's what I'll do. That's exactly what I do. I really truly believe the coal severance tax is going to be a real trump card. And Goldman Sachs just came out with a big release and said in 2017, 2018, they can't see anything but goodness as far as metallurgical coals and everything. It isn't just Jim Justice talking, it's Jim Justice with knowledge talking, and so I think that's going to be a real trump that's going to really help. But you've got to get the gas. You've got to get tourism going. You've got to do a lot of stuff. Now, net of the whole thing is if I could bring in $1.5 billion of additional revenue today, than what we've had in the past, well, then you wouldn't have to sit around and say, well, how are we going to get there? How are we going to do this and everything?
game changer.
That's right.
You said at the beginning of the answer that it needed this, I think swept might have been the term, from top to bottom. I mean, are you suggesting, as others have, that there may be too much hierarchy in the state public education system?
It could be. It could be. You could have layers on top of layers that are the same layers, and if that be the case, we need to address that. I think you need to step back and look at education as a whole, and look at how we can make it better for our kids, but better for our educators too. Guys, people ask me lots and lots of times, they say, write a job description of all you do. And I do a lot of stuff. And I could write volumes of what I do. But at the end of the day, I write see the right person's in the right job and they're motivated. And if you listen to these teachers and these educators, they have too many bushes in front of them and too many problems. The politicians don't ever listen to the educators. And they're the very people they ought to be listening to. You know, and the politicians come up with every rule and everything in the world so they can grandstand and then it just makes it more and more and more difficult. Our poor kids are tested to death, and you know, and our teachers are just required to jump through so many different hoops, and it just gets silly.